Good evening and welcome to the Silicon Valley Entrepreneur, a series of conversations with startup founders and investors that fund them. I'm Chris Gill, President and CEO of SVASE, the Silicon Valley Association of Startup Entrepreneurs. And tonight we have with us two very different guests who were both winners, their companies were winners of the recent Launch Silicon Valley program. And they're in very, very different areas. So my pleasure to introduce John Clelland, Chief Marketing Officer with tenCube, and Sue Kunz, CEO of BioVantage Resources. I got that right?
You got
Resources.
that right.
Okay. So having got that right, let me start with you, Sue. That's a nice, easy segue. Tell us a little bit about your product and what it does for customers.
So we're in a unique space, I guess I'd say. We are actually in the pond scum business.
Okay.
We grow algae, and we grow algae for a very specific purpose, namely wastewater treatment. So bioremediation of waste in our water.
And how is that different from the way that things are currently done now?
Well, it's sort of interesting. Today, I would say that in the US and in most of the world, wastewater treatment is broken. We use enormous amounts of energy to basically pump air through lagoons. The air makes bacteria grow, and the bacteria remediates the water. Well, what's novel about what we do is instead of using electricity, we actually put algae into those ponds, into the lagoons, and the algae produce the oxygen. So they're using sunlight and photosynthesis basically to oxygenate the lagoons, saving a lot of money and a lot of greenhouse gases along the way.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. We'll definitely come back to that. John, if we can just take a little bit of time from you on this. Tell us a little bit about tenCube. What does it do?
Well, first off, thanks, Chris, for having us. tenCube was, the product that we have is called Wave Secure, and it was invented out of two very brilliant students that met at the University of Singapore, kept losing their smartphones. So out of their own necessity, they were either lost or stolen or broken. One of them, the software genius, thought, well, you know, there's got to be a solution here. I mean, the number of smartphones that are stolen or lost every year keeps climbing through the roof. So they quickly turned that from a personal need into a class project and started working with the Singapore military to really develop it to a kind of a military spec, if you will. And out of that necessity came a great product.
So what does the product actually do? Because you explained the background, but what does the product actually do?
So the product in a nutshell allows anybody with a smartphone to, if they lose the phone, if it's broken, if it's misplaced, they can do a multitude of things over the internet, so over the air. They can remotely locate the phone. Anywhere it is in the world, it will appear on a Google map with a little icon, so they will know exactly where that phone is. If they have secure data on there, they can remotely lock the phone immediately. So if it falls into the wrong hands, it becomes basically a brick. It's of use to nobody. They can do a backup over the air as well. All of this done remotely. Those are the kind of worst case scenarios. Everyday case, though, where it gives somebody a warm, fuzzy feeling is every time they plug the phone in for charging, it will do an incremental backup of all of the data that they've selected to have backed up. So their contacts, their calendars, maybe their SMS messages are very important to them. It will do an incremental backup over the air to our server in the cloud. Very secure. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Even when it's not doing anything, it's really doing something.
Okay. So this is two very, very different, very intriguing and very necessary applications, which is why you were winners of your respective streams, mobile and clean tech, at the recent Launch Silicon Valley event. So let me come back a bit to you, Sue. How did this come about? How did this business start? Because it's a different breakaway from what's been done in the past.
Yeah, it is, and it's sort of interesting. The founder is just a brilliant man. He's a serial entrepreneur, and this time it wasn't necessity. I think it was more environmental, where he was and what he was doing. He basically had a girlfriend who lived in rural America. Through that, he got to see what was happening in rural America. And you know, having visited, I mean, I literally met folks in Kansas who were talking about it becoming the third world. Jobs are an issue. And at any rate, he was looking for an opportunity that he felt he could launch to rural America. And for him, it was algae at that point in time and biofuels. And if farmers could grow algae for biofuels, you can imagine what that would mean, both from a monetary perspective, you know, as well as from a job creation perspective. And that's where it started. Couple fish tanks in a basement, literally.
Okay. Now, how did it go from a couple of fish tanks in a basement and biofuels to remediating lagoons for wastewater? Because that's very different.
You know, it is, but I have a personal problem. I like making money. And when I saw that you know, where they were taking this, and you know, we did research as a team, and I talked to the team about intellectual honesty a lot, because you don't want to fool yourself. You know, you got to face yourself in the mirror and say, you know, can I do this? And it became pretty clear to us that although we believe that, you know, biofuels will happen at some point in time, that's not anytime soon. It's just, you know, there are too many technical hurdles. There are things that need to be done. The market needs to mature. And so we were looking at other opportunities, and water actually found us. I'd been involved with other water companies, so I had an interest, but we were approached by an environmental engineering company looking for something like we had, and the economics work.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Okay. Again, we'll come back to that, but I want to get across to John here. So, two students in Singapore started this for their own, to meet something of their own needs, which I come across very often as a reason for starting companies with inside SVASE. Where did it go from there? You said the military were involved in it in some way?
They got the military, the Singapore military and the Singapore police both involved right from writing some of the preliminary product specifications, and certainly involved in the pilot beta testing as well. And it quickly grew from there. They realized they had a commercially viable product that globally would just take off. They're huge. For the last, that was 5 years ago, it was developed in school. 2 years ago, they launched commercially. They have deals, or we have deals with Singtel, so we have deals with carriers. We also have deals with handset manufacturers in different regions. And then obviously our third go-to-market is direct. But it's now the big challenge is to grow this market in North America. And that's where I ran into the founder, was at a Series B funding in front of some venture capitalists. And kind of like Victor Kayam, I saw, you know, I liked the company so much, I didn't buy it, but I've thrown myself into it.
I was going to ask you that. What was it attracted this to you? Because you have only recently joined the company. It's been going for 5 years.
3 weeks ago, right. Well, I mean, a synopsis of my working history, I've worked hardware-only companies for a long time. Sue and I were both at Sun Microsystems. Before that, I was at HP. And I tried a software-only play when I left Sun in the PC antiviral software world, and just wanted to challenge myself. I thought, you know, I know I've been there, done that with hardware, but wanted to stay on the technology side. And what I found, there were some great challenges and great opportunities on the security side for PCs, but it was such a negative sell to me. I mean, you were talking about honesty and intellectual property. I'm kind of maybe one of the very few honest marketeers, so I have an issue at times with force-feeding a negative sell, a fear sell. And what I saw in this product was, yes, it's a security product, but I don't have to push the negatives of it. People immediately, I mean, the 30-second elevator pitch, all my friends said, John, you know, what is this company? And I explained it to them. I just say, what happens if you lose your smartphone? After hitting themselves in the head, they say, well, you know, sheer panic. I mean, I've got to go through getting all of my credit card numbers, you know, make sure I contact the credit card agencies, and just a myriad of headaches. So I think anybody nowadays in the modern world that uses a smartphone can immediately see the need for this. And the opportunity for me is to go to market with a superior product and do it in an honest way.
So does your software answer emails for you?
No, it does
what I
not
want.
do that. No, that's why
See,
you
that's what I'm waiting for.
That's
Something
why
that
you
just does all my work for
personal.
me.
That's why you have a personal assistant. But
Yeah, I could certainly do with that and an email filter. Anyway.
well, interesting you should say that though. So on the roadmap, this is really not the antiviral side. We do have on the roadmap to add a full suite, if you will. So we'll have the security side that protects the phone in the event of theft or loss or breakage, and gives you the convenience of doing the auto backup. So it's kind of a no-brainer. But in North America, we're finding that we haven't really hit that green light yet. But in Asia, 80%, this is an amazing statistic, 80% of SMSs sent now are spam. Yeah. 80%. So it's not going to answer your emails, but it will essentially create a blacklist that you don't have to worry about your carrier, although you can work with carrier, because carrier will allow it to go through because they get to charge the sender for the SMS.
Sure.
But as a convenience, again, we're thinking, how can we enhance this product to truly add value where it's doing a good service and it's not detracting, if you will. It's not hitting the performance of the phone. So I hope that kind of answers what you were
absolutely.
asking.
We'll definitely come back and probe
Yeah.
some more on that. And Sue, were you explaining earlier that you're not one of the founders. You are the CEO, but you were brought in.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about your background and how you got invited in to take this on as a CEO?
Sure. I mean, I've been one of those people who's ping-ponged between startups and enterprises. In fact, this is the fourth startup I've been involved with, 3 of which were my own. And in between, I was also with IBM and Sun, where I was a corporate executive, and so I've done this ping pong thing. It's been good because although I feel better in startup land, I learned how to sell to big companies by being in them, and that was very enlightening to learn. And my first customer in life was Porsche, followed by Daimler. And I had to learn that just because someone said they want to buy your stuff, you still had to sit on someone's lap in purchasing until they actually bought and paid and all those kind of fun things.
Right.
So so I've gone back and forth. I am if I go back far enough, I'm an engineer. But since I don't sit still very well, I very quickly became customer focused. And so technology most of my life, half of it outside the U.S., and then I think now I finally decided I have to stick with the startup addiction and probably won't go back.
Okay. And how did you come across the opportunity for BioVantage? Because this is very different from what you've done in the past. If you talk about IBM and Sun, clean tech is a huge...
my last company was a software bugs company. We found bugs in software automatically. So I'm still in the bugs business, technically. Right? They're just little different bugs. Now, I actually found this, a couple things. One of my investors from my last company had me looking at some stuff for her in the clean tech space. Certainly, I had an interest. But I also, as I went into this, thought, I want to do something, do a company where they're ultimately fundable, right, in this environment. And for me at that point, it was clean tech or in the, healthcare, right, as sort of 2 safe bets. But I found the team. I like the people. Very early stage. Again, I mentioned my addiction before. I'm a startup addict, and I like the adrenaline rush almost.
Yep. Okay. And so, having come across the opportunity and you like the team, making the move to become the CEO is quite a different thing. And what okay, you like the team. You like the product, though it's very different. What other factors came into play of the options that you had to decide doing this? Because I'm trying to get across to people watching some of the key factors that hired guns, if you like, can consider when they come into a startup environment.
Well, it certainly wasn't money because we're not really getting paid. But the in part it's funny because I got serious. Of the 5 things I looked at, and some were much, much later where I would have had an opportunity to grow a business and, where they were cash flow positive. I but I got it down to two, where the technology really excited me. I mean, I need to want to get up and work because I work like crazy. And those dynamics were definitely there. And also, I talked to some of my former investors and, friends, and one of them, who's actually one of my big investors now, I kind of showed him both of them. I said, well, what do you think? He says, oh, definitely the algae company. And I laugh now because he says he goes to parties and he says, I've got 9 software companies and an algae company, right? So it was different for him too, but, folks I trusted, and this was the right thing to do.
Okay. And how long did it take for you to decide that, that this was the opportunity for you? Was it instant love across the room, or did you have to go on a few dates? Or
there was definitely dating. Because the two, I mentioned there were kind of 2 companies, actually 3 of them. I was fortunate when my last company was sold. I wound up with sort of half-time golden handcuffs. And so I had the other half-time to kind of fool around. So I helped these companies write business plans. I got deep in what they were doing, and that was my opportunity to kind of suss out what it would be like. And algae is addicting. Trust me. I just liked it. So.
But from what you just described, you worked with the team in a very detailed way to map out the business plan, and were you part of the move going from biofuels to where it is now?
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, because I've been around the block a few times, and again, having done the startup thing, or even in corporate America, focus matters. And I think what I saw was a solution looking for a problem. And one of the gentlemen who's helped us a lot is an investor. He came on board. He would do smart things like little skinny pro formas to show whether you could make money. And so we started really bringing the business much, much closer to the science. I also brought in an engineer who's worked for me many times to run engineering and science. Rare individual, has both sides of his brain, uses both sides of his brain. And so as a team, we started bringing all those components together, and that's how we wound up, making the decision saying, hey, let's follow the money, let's add value sooner, let's get to market sooner.
Okay. And John, you must have gone through something similar when you decided to join up with tenCube, because it's somewhat different from where you were. It's in the mobile space, but it's a company that has potential to play to your strengths, which is going global.
Exactly, and very much like Sue. I mean, the first part, actually maybe not like you. With me, it was kind of lust at first sight. I'm not going to beat around the bush. There was no dating involved. It was just, let's do the deal. But seriously, the technology part, that, there has to be a core offering there. That was rock solid, but when I got under the covers with the 2 founders that were over here visiting, I found out that aside from being very brilliant engineers, that they also, for being as young as they are, they also had a very good business understanding of the whole back office. So it made my job much easier coming in as kind of the seasoned professional, having, as Sue said, the global enterprise rigor, if you will, and understanding, taking what makes sense of that, the structure and the business process, but keeping it very lithe and agile. Because in startup mode, that's the key advantage that startups have over the big Goliaths, is that they can shift when the market opportunity is there.
Agility.
They can move
everything.
very quickly, and the focus, as you said. Now, fortunately, because there aren't that many people involved in the company at this point, the focus is very laser-like. It's not some of the enterprises that was all over the place. So to answer your question, I mean, it's a combination of all those things, and at this point in my career, I just really wanted to have something that would be fun as well. And granted, this is not solving, as I think, now I'm hearing more about Sue's company, I'm looking, saying, okay, biofuels, but what is really piquing my interest is potable water.
It's
water.
meaningful.
If everybody thinks that wars are started and ended over petroleum, wait till water becomes scarce.
Well, and it is.
And it's getting there. So that to me is life-saving. I'd like to say our product is life-saving, but I'm not going to lie. It's not. It's a convenience thing. But I envy you. This is a good field for you to be in.
It is, and I think also at a point in my life where, just saying you wanna do something that's very meaningful,
Exactly.
and something that has an opportunity to be very big.
Yeah.
And I got kids, so they think it's cool.
Well, and it's a karma balance too.
Yeah.
You and I have both brought products to market that didn't add a whole lot of value to the world.
Yeah.
So you have to do that balance. It's a good thing.
I should have worn my Algae is Cool T-shirt, and we've got the green jean.
I like it. I like it.
Gonna definitely give you a chance to expand on that a little bit, but stick with John for the moment a bit.
Sure.
So if I remember the presentation right from launch Silicon Valley, tenCube is currently operating in around about 200 countries worldwide. Is that right?
Yes.
So it's already gone hugely global to an extent.
Virally,
Virally.
but not, and this is our direct side where the consumer can purchase off our website or directly through their mobile, through the Android market or through BlackBerry market or whatever carrier. But to me, the three go-to-markets for this product are direct, which we already have a viral on and can certainly be amped up. I can turn that one up to 11 very easily. The two non-directs would be with the OEMs, so with the handset manufacturers, and we're doing meetings with Nokia, we're doing meetings with Samsung to get on their new BATA system. So that's a challenge, and to me, that's taking the enterprise side of it. So it's not the guerrilla marketing. You can't really guerrilla market with these big international handset manufacturers. So I get to wear both hats. I can do the guerrilla marketing on the viral side and the fun stuff on the direct side, and it's brass tacks, traditional business, button-down business, dealing with the handset manufacturers, and even more so with the carriers. And I'm quickly finding out that dealing with carriers is a big challenge. It's fun, but it's a long, arduous process.
But if I'm right in saying, you said this product launched two years ago.
Yes.
So to go to 200 companies in 2 years,
200
virally,
countries,
200
yes.
countries in 2
Well,
years.
that's the beauty of the internet,
That's
isn't it?
phenomenal.
That's the beauty of the internet.
That's just phenomenal.
Yeah, we couldn't have done that pre-internet,
Yeah.
but certainly, as I said, there are some other interesting channels that I'm approaching that will make sense, and hopefully some of it, without tipping my hat too much, will be more philanthropic in nature. So I'll get to take a product that maybe doesn't solve a world crisis problem, but it will fund organizations that do those things.
Sure.
So I'm mixing kind of the commercial side of it with the philanthropic side.
Okay. So Sue, get back to you. Talking about potable water, so we've got these lagoons full of pond scum at the moment, but that are hopefully going to be all cleaned up. Where are you looking to take the company from where it is now? What's your vision for the future?
So, well, first of all, I should correct. We get it to gray water, which isn't
Okay.
quite potable.
All right.
So think irrigation. I don't know that you really want to drink it.
Okay.
There's another process you could put on the back end to do that. But I think initially we're focused on municipalities, on municipal wastewater. Industry is right behind it. We're spending some significant time in looking at how we can help in the Gulf. We think there are things we can do in the marshlands. So there's some industrial applications that I think are that could use our help. Other things too, like heavy metals. I'm looking at a mine now where they have uranium issues, and algae likes to sponge up that kind of stuff, which is really cool, right? And so if you think about that. That's an interesting set of applications, on its own. And then finally, it's the developing world. And, we tried to sort of be in stealth mode, and people found us from China and India, and, it was impossible. The pain is so high. The fact that there's a cost-effective solution, something where, your variable costs are low, it's just an absolutely perfect fit. And then I really like the concept of sewer mining. My grandpa was a miner, so I guess I have to be a miner too. Sewer mining.
Oh, sewer mining.
And so the concept is, there's value in our sewers, right? Your water has all kinds of nutrients and there's all kinds of things in wastewater.
Right.
So water is one product, and it's where we start. But what other value can you extract from these wastewaters? And you know, I think over time, I'd just love to see us develop along that angle. Our planet's running out of phosphorus, for instance. Well, you know what? Algae is going to be eating up that phosphorus. Can you extract it later? Can you, again, going back to heavy metals, you know, is that something that, you know, after you sponge it up, you actually go back and reclaim? And so I think over time, and you know, a lot of these things aren't figured out yet, but over time, if we can move more and more towards taking waste streams and turning them into value, that would be really cool.
We've only got a couple minutes left. In fact, we're less than a couple minutes left. So do you have any last words of wisdom for entrepreneurs watching the show tonight?
Entrepreneur wannabe, just do it. Just do it and suck it up and get it done. You have to take the leap. And I know very few people who regretted it. Be ready to work hard and do it.
Okay. John, what about from your side?
Absolutely. I mean, first thing is try. If you don't try, you're never going to know whether you're going to succeed or fail. Depending on where they're at in the, I mean, certainly I'm speaking from recent experience with entrepreneurs in startup phase seeking funding. The biggest advice I can give them is when you're sitting across the table from a VC, think of it as the first date with the woman that you want to marry. Don't give them a bad answer back. Don't take umbrage at what they're saying. Just kind of smile and, you know, hope that you can get back for that second date. That's the easiest way to get shut down, is to be a little arrogant or rigid in your thinking. And after all, if you're going after them for money, you kind of have to listen to them. So that would be my biggest bit of advice, because more VCs get upset with that. You know.
Okay. John and Sue, thank you both very much for coming along. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Wish we had some more time. You've got very exciting products. I wish you every success with them. Please keep us informed as to how they go in the future. We'll see if we can get you back on the show. And thank you and good night from the Silicon Valley Entrepreneur, and look forward to seeing you again next month.